What's up, everybody? Sorry, I was actually listening to some old Boston Brass records today. How about that? It's been a long time. I've got Brazil in my head. What's going on? Welcome to this week's TEM coaching chat. I will be honest with you that I looked at the clock and saw that it was 9:59 and went, "Oh crap, it's Tuesday." So here we are, the TEM coaching chat, which is supposed to be at 10 p.m. and I just threw this together. But actually, what I decided to talk about, which the title is "Don't Blend In," came to me pretty quickly because today on the Brass Junkies, we released a conversation that we had with Jeff Kernow, who is currently trumpet with the Philadelphia Orchestra and formerly was with the legendary Empire Brass Quintet during the 80s and early 90s. And we talked to him about a bunch of stuff, but he talked about the mindset of Empire Brass walking on stage. And I actually want to share a clip with you here, which I'm hoping is going to happen pretty smoothly here. This is just a 1 minute clip of Jeff talking specifically about the attitude that Rolf Smedvig brought to Empire Brass performances. And I think it's a really valuable thing for all of us to hear. Here we go.
Rolf had this idea that we're going to go out and we're going to level this place. And that's what we did from the first tune through to the end. It was just, we're going to impress people with what we can do. We're going to do something that no one else has ever done. And we're going to just blast them out of their seats. So we were bell front, walk out there on stage. You had to look a certain way, carry your horn a certain way, and boom. When the concert started, people got quiet. And that energy really came from Rolf, because every quintet I was in before, walk out on stage, you kind of huddle in a little arc and you're kind of in your own little world, and you start with something like, one of those contrapunctus,
right?
Just because we want to warm up.
Yeah.
We don't want to slam the audience. And we'd come out with cans on a burger mask and just boom, 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 and just immediately right out of the starting gate. So yeah, there was an energy there, definitely.
I love that clip. That put a smile on my face as you just saw. Actually, you probably just saw picture in picture. You saw a smile on my face as it happened, and then a smile on my face now as I watch my smile on my face as anyway, it's getting very meta. But no, the Empire Brass is a perfect example of not blending in. And did everybody enjoy their take on brass quintets? No, there are plenty of people who wanted the regular kind, which at the time was, and there's still plenty of quintets that do this, which is, 5 people. There's 2 people sitting, the trumpets are having a conversation, and the horn and the trombone are having a conversation, and the tuba is the only one facing the audience. By the way, this isn't bad, it's not good, but that Empire had a very they made an intentional decision where they had the horn on the end so that the bell was pointing straight out. They had the tuba on the end and facing across the stage so that the bell was pointing straight out. 5 bells all pointing straight out. They walked out, as he just said, they held their horns in a certain way. They walked out with purpose. They walked out as quickly as any chamber ensemble that I have ever seen. And then they tried to level the place. And some people didn't dig that, but other people really did. And the point is not whether it's what they did is good or what they did is bad. The point is that they stood out. They did not come across as like any other brass quintet that had come before them. Even though there's a whole lot of similarities, there's 2 trumpets, horn, trombone, tuba. They did not reinvent the wheel. And yet they did the opposite of blending in. They stood out. And that is absolutely what our number one task is as musicians and as artists today. The number one risk is blending in. It's obscurity. It's having nobody ever notice you. And if you have an ensemble, first of all, that is a predictable instrumentation, and that could be guitar, drums, keyboard, bass, and and a lead singer, or one of them is the lead singer. If you have a predictable instrumentation and you play predictable music in a predictable way and you look predictable and where you perform is predictable and all of these things, it is really hard to stand out by just being a little bit better than everybody else at playing that same music, or at I don't know, looking the part just a little bit more, or working just a little harder to book gigs. All of those things will move the needle a little bit, but it's really hard to just play 10% better than every other woodwind quintet, because it's very hard. What you need to do is you need to have an angle, and Empire didn't do that as a marketing gimmick. I don't even think that the term branding was around yet then. But that's what it was. Like, their brand was to walk out and to try and knock you over. And as Jeff said, when they started playing, people got quiet, with the exception of one time when I saw them at Boston University at the Sci Center, which was like it was like a home playoff game, is what those concerts were like. It was all of the BU students. It was a few of us really zealous high school students. The brass scene was thriving in Boston at the time. It still is, but it was like crazy. There was like 5 or 6 professional quintets in Boston in the 80s going into the early 90s. Anyway, they did the Empire thing. They walked out on stage like nobody's business, ready to like blow the place down. And then they started, and it sounded crazy. And it quickly became apparent that there were not 2 different pieces. There were 3 different pieces up on the stand amongst the 5 of them, which was absolutely hilarious. It was like Ives piled on top of Ives. And there was a bunch of chuckling and snickering, especially from their students. And then they went with the piece that was on Rolf's stand, and then blew the house down. But the point is that they did not blend in, and they forced people to have an opinion about their music, about what they played, about how they played it, about how they looked, about how they handled themselves on stage, all of the above. And there's a real lesson there for all of us. Gustavo Dudamel, that he forces people to have an opinion. Now, he's brilliant, but being brilliant isn't the whole thing. Like, he had his interpretations stand out. His persona on the box stands out. There's a lot that stands out. Now, there are some people who are huge fans of Dudamel. There are some people who really don't like Dudamel as a conductor. You will never please everyone. Harry Potter books, which are universally pretty highly acclaimed. There's been like billions of dollars of movies made of these books. I think it's something like 20% of all of the ratings, or 10% or something, are like 1 star on Amazon. Meaning there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people who not only think that the Harry Potter books suck, but they're like, I need to warn others, these books suck. So you're never going to make everybody happy, but you gotta stand out. You cannot blend in. So thank you, Jeff Kernow, for the reminder that we need to. I guess my last thought on this is that when you don't blend in, that's when you make yourself susceptible to people having opinions about what you are doing and sharing those opinions. And again, all of the opinions will not be good no matter what. But as soon as you walk out on stage like you own the place, there are going to be people that are like, get over yourself. As soon as you play a really, really strong opener, there are going to be people who say, oh, that's just because they don't do nuance, because they can't do nuance. As soon as you fill in the blank, there are going to be people who say, fill in the blank. If you blend in, you can kind of just like avoid attention, and nobody's really going to have any negative opinions about you at all. Because if like 20 people have ever heard your podcast, there's a very good chance, unless you're just horrific and probably offensive and horrific, you're not going to have any 1-star reviews. You're probably not going to have any reviews on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else. But you get up to a whole, thousands of downloads. You keep doing that over and over again. There's going to be some 1 and 2-star reviews that come streaming in. So just know that there is a voice inside of all of us that says blend in. and you need to ignore it at all costs. That's something that I work with TEM coaching clients about all the time, which is standing out, and not in a forced way, not in an affected way, but just having the courage to say, no, this is my version of a recital. It turns out there's no violin and piano, with piano accompaniment, which I'm using that term intentionally because pianists nowadays like to be referred to as collaborative artists, and I'm all on board with that. But like the regular kind is violin solo and piano accompaniment, and if you don't want to play any of that rep, then don't play it because everybody else plays it. And how the hell are you going to play a violin sonata that millions have played before you just better than anyone else? And I'm not telling you to not play the classics. I'm not saying to not play Beethoven and to not play Chopin and to not play, you name it. But if you have a calling to do something that's going to stand out, and it can be who you play, what music you play, where you play it, why you play it, what you incorporate with it or not. You can go in an infinite number of directions. Then you need to always lean towards standing out and not blending in, because obscurity is the biggest impediment to making money. Or even if money is not your ultimate goal, just having your art impact people, which is, I think, why we all play music, why we paint paintings, why we write plays, is so that we can impact humans. And it has to get consumed. Your art has to be consumed by people before they can be changed. All right, that is going to do it for this week's TEM coaching. You can check out, by the way, the full interview with Jeff Kernow is unbelievable. You can find it at petalnotemedia.com. It's TBJ 182. He talks about being a professional cartoonist. You've probably seen his work on NPR. He does a lot of the NPR classical cartoons. He's brilliant. He talks a bunch about Sam Palafian, about his life with Empire Brass. He's got enough stuff to say that we actually I don't even think we talked about Philadelphia Orchestra, which is like his gig, and talked about the Empire Brass Seminar and just about teaching and about how that was a pipeline to so many people who have been so impactful in the brass world. It was a pleasure. So you should check that out. And he's funny as hell. And we start the whole thing by congratulating ourselves because we were scheduled and then we had to reschedule and then we had to reschedule again. And the fact that all of us got on the same Zoom call, which is just all of us, is 3 people. We were very proud of ourselves. So thank you very much for checking out this TEM coaching chat, which happens every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. If I remember before 9:59 p.m. that it's a Tuesday. And if not, then it happens at like 10:08 p.m. But you can always learn more about the Entrepreneurial Musician, the podcast, the blog, the coaching, live events, book club, like all that stuff at tem.fm. And you can also learn about it at petalnotemedia.com. All right, that is going to do it. Thank you so much.